What is up, everybody? As always, you have to let me know if this is working. For some reason, when I stream from this back corner here, which is on the same floor as my router, YouTube shows me that I'm not getting anything, but we did it here before and everyone said it was fine. You'd think it would be worse in my basement when it has to go through the floor, but whatever. Anyways, get into a crowler I picked up on my bike tonight. Whoops, backwards. Missing Falls. This is a Space-Time Continuum Imperial IPA. Might have my phone over here showing YouTube, and for me there's like a 20-second delay, so it might make the chat a little bit weird. Also, I'll have to turn that off when I actually develop film because I use my phone as a timer. I need to get something else for that. Platform, Code, Delicio, Mexican Hot Chocolate Imperial Stout. I'm trying to think if I ever had Platform's Mexican Hot Chocolate beer. I've definitely had Stone, Zocaveza. I've had a couple, but I'm not sure if I've had Platforms. I do like that style of beer, though. The Mexican Hot Chocolate style with the... Is that one like a cinnamon and vanilla? Oh, yeah. I've had this at the brewery. I'm trying to think if I've had a crowler of it before. Obviously, it's from the brewery. I actually sat on the patio earlier. It was warm enough. I was out riding and taking photos. Finished off this roll. Shot some digital photos I needed to take for work. Yeah, so this is Pancro 400. And then I was so hungry I stopped, had a beer, ate a chicken sandwich, and grabbed this for tonight. Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with this roll. I shot one roll before and I linked a video below where I talk all about it. And if you watch that video, you could see how excited I was about this film. I knew nothing about it. I mean, except when I bought it, then I just did some research on it. It's a French film made in Germany, and the internet wisdom is that it's actually made by Ilford Harman, which is a British company. So I don't know. It's weird because this brand, this is the only film they make. They make it in all the formats, large format to medium format to 35, but they don't make anything else. So it's kind of strange how the beer is cinnamon, dark chocolate, stout from the taste of it. Yeah. I had a stout, that's what I had. I had a chocolate stout actually at the brewery with my dinner, which was kind of nice on a cool, evening. The sun was just setting when I was sitting out there. So by the time I left, I was starting to get chilly, but I'm glad this is working. I don't know why YouTube shows me all these weird, like it's not working from here when it is. Yeah, it's just a green screen on my YouTube studio thing. Hey, Alan. Oh, the chat's much faster on the YouTube app than my phone. Oh yeah, I finally got these shirts in. These I showed this design on one of the live streams before, but yeah, it was pretty. I thought they came out awesome. They're printed really, really nice. They're from Teespring. I linked them below, but I basically made them so me and my friends could wear them because I love the concept of industrial gravel, that rough stuff we ride. And basically, I sent the designer who made my Fitzwater photography logo, like this sketch I had made where I had dropped in clip art, and I'm like, can you turn this into something cool? So he made four designs, but two of them I have up already, and then there's a third one I want to put up too that's a little different. The bike's not in the factory on that one, and it's a different font. It's kind of cool looking too. And then he made a big circle one that's a tire, like a bike tire, and then with the smokestack and factory in the center. Yeah, Aaron got the Bombora at the right time. Speaking of that, not to leave anyone hanging, we haven't really done anything with the Bombora yet. She got a bunch of the parts assembled, but they're going to, at Dirty River, they're going to spend a night hand building a few wheel sets. One for her. I think Ben wants one for, I think he's got a single speed, whatever that Salsa single speed that came out was. I think he's going to build a wheel set for that. And so it's kind of waiting on that. I told her we could start to put, like the crank and stuff like that on there if she wanted. We'll just see. She's a little busy, and then she gets vacation coming up with the holidays, so maybe we'll do, go back there and do the live stream at her house again and show like the Bombora where we're at on the build. So, and then me, where we've done the live streams on the Barry Hoban, I've just been too busy or too tired to worry about getting another bike build up. So that's something I still plan to continue and keep that going when I get the chance, or when I feel like it. Tuesday, a friend stopped by at like 8:15. I hadn't set anything up yet, and I usually like start at 8 o'clock to get this going, and get a thumbnail, get a description, get the camera placement, decide what I'm going to talk about, or at least write it down, or where I'm going to be. And he stopped by, we cracked some beers, we ended up sitting like across the studio from each other and watching my TV, and it was nice just to chill. We were both kind of tired, so I was like, forget it today. I'm gonna actually hang out with a friend, because I don't hang out with anyone. We actually both wore masks in the studio the whole time, so just the way it goes. Really been limiting any interaction. All my rides have been solo, which is part of the reason I've been getting some film shot again, because I go out and motivate myself to kind of just explore. Today I was out the last 3 days. I shot this over the last 3 days. I had a couple shoots I needed to do, a couple shots I needed around town, and then I would just go off exploring and shooting this roll. It's really interesting, this film. Like I said, if you watch the other video, I got really excited about it, but it's a double emulsion film, so it has this wide exposure latitude, and I shot it in mostly high contrast situations, and it really handled it well the first time. This time it has a lot of variation, because it was very flat the first few days because it was cloudy. And then today it was actually very sunny, and I did magic hour like light. I was out, like I said, as the sun was setting before I had my beer. So redoing a 91 Trek 1000. How can I go threadless carbon fork? Man, I bet Ben, oh, you can't. Because yeah, you would be, yeah, does anyone do a Neo retro build where you go to carbon? I actually have never even thought of going that route, because I actually like quill stems. I like the adjustability of them and all that. I've never actually thought about switching, because the other way, there's an adapter, right? You could put, if you have a modern bike, you could, wait, my brain is not functioning. Like I said, I'm tired. Unless it's got a metal steer. Like I always say, if I get these videos get like half their views later, they must make no sense without the live chat being visible. Unless you got a metal steer. I'm trying to picture the aluminum steer, huh? I'm just sitting here reading the chat. I'm interested in what they're going to say, because that's a little beyond whatever. I mean, it's beyond whatever we're trying to do, whether it's possible or not. I guess I haven't thought about it, because I've never tried to change the forks on a vintage bike to a modern bike. I'm very interested in, with my Raleigh, eventually putting a carbon fork on it, but my Raleigh already is threadless, so. Anyways, will you guys discuss that? I'm going to start getting some water at the right temperature. Oh, where's my, oh, there it is. Impossible. Type autocorrect on impossibly wrong. It's winter. Why would my groundwater be so long? Dude, the Neo retro build of upgrading a vintage steel bike with modern brifters is the best thing, and that's what I'm doing on the Barry Hoban. That's what my Trek 500 is. That's 3x9 Shimano 105. So what would that be, like 2007? Yeah, it's from a 2007 Trek 1500, the group set, and I love it. It's like my favorite thing. Yeah, quill to threadless. I'm trying to. I don't know. What I'm picturing is those adapters that are for. Well, you put like a quill stem in, and then it's like just an adapter for like the more modern size bars, I guess. Oh, this is like spot on. I need 68 degrees, and it's like exactly what the groundwater is right now, which is probably why they make 68 degrees be the temperature, because maybe that's pretty typical. I have no idea. You know, when it comes to modern threadless, I'm like fairly clueless. I always have them explain it at the bike shop, but I'm like, I guess my mountain bike, which is my winter bike, which I never used to work on or do anything, it's almost all original, and then my Raleigh, which I've upgraded, I built up and upgraded, but always with the help of the bike shop, and I try and pay attention. I just haven't had to mess with it hands on that much because all my bikes are vintage and quill stems, so I know all the different quill stem stuff. And threadless is like just something I haven't ever spent that much time with. It's a problem, like learning anything, like, you know, film photography, building bikes, live streaming. It's all about practice and doing stuff over and over again. And certain stuff with bikes, I'm just never going to do enough for it to be something that becomes like I become an expert at. That's what I think about wheel building and like truing wheels. I'm like, I would love to do that because it costs so much money to get it done. But like, how many opportunities do you have to do that? And other people could do it so much faster. Is it worth the time investment to do it? I've never done a custom paint job. I think cones, bearings, and a hub, but sideways for yeah. I've never repainted anything. I've my Viscount, a video about that, the Death Fork bike, which mine's not. It's third generation, but it's one of the first bikes with an aluminum fork steel bike. I actually cleaned that up really good and clear coated it. I thought I was going to respray it, but I decided just to leave it. I decided not to put the effort in a respray. I have friends. My one friend, Ben, actually, not Ben, Brad, actually bought an All City, and it was like the very Peugeot looking one, that cream color with the orange and red stripes, which I actually really like that colorway, but a lot of our friends had it. He actually got that stripped and resprayed, and I think he got it powdered. I think it was a powder coat job, but it's really affordable to get a bike resprayed even by like professionals. So it's something that I don't think I would ever try and rattle can myself. I do have some of that Spray Dot bike. I bought a can of their pink because for a Schwinn I have that's like someone has resprayed pink and white. I thought that I wanted to do some of the other touches with a pink color, but I just have not got around to it. And that bike I just wasn't riding this summer because my sciatica was hurting me, and that bike's super aggressive, so I just didn't want to be in that position at all. It's kind of my fast bike. It's a Columbus SLX tubing bike, tubed bike with 9-speed Dura-Ace. So it's 1986 Schwinn Peloton that's been then rebuilt with 2x9 Dura-Ace on it. And I love that group set. It is, I think it's, would that be 7,800? I don't know. It just shifts like butter. But Brad's bike was powder coated. That was powder coated, Yonda. Yeah. And what? I think it was only like, it was under $200, right? It wasn't a, I mean, have you ever done any custom painting, Yonda? Like my Trek 500, the reason I bought that because the paint was so beautiful. It's almost flawless, and I love the color and the original decals, so no reason to repaint that. The Viscount maybe, but I bought that bike for $75. So again, it's like the decals, the original decals were more expensive on eBay. Not the original decals, but the ones people have remade. than the bike. So it was like, that's why I was originally thinking of respraying it, because it is a little rough looking, but I ended up just using like an automotive clear coat after I cleaned it up. If you do, then you're sticker branding a rename. But Brad, you can't get, didn't he say he couldn't get any All City decals for that? So that's why he didn't. He would have if he could, but they don't sell. All City doesn't sell their decals, I don't believe. With certain vintage bikes, I don't care. Like the Trek, mine's the last year where they used that really old school looking logo. So to me, like that was a huge appeal of the bike to me. The Viscount, like I said, it's rough. The Schwinn's already someone else resprayed it and did a really nice job. It looks super cool. I wouldn't be against it. And even my Barry Hoban that I've been building, it kind of looks cool. It's all silver. It's different than any of my other bikes, so I don't need to respray it. It's in good enough shape. And someone at some point looks like they went and touched it up. Must have knocked off any rust spot or cleaned up any rust spots and then coated it. So there's, again, so I guess I haven't needed to, is my answer why I haven't done it. Powder coat is easy. Professional paint looks glossy and is durable like factory paint and is expensive. But Brad's looks pretty cool. I mean, that looks pretty awesome. Piece of, yeah. And our one friend Woody, and this was a few years ago, so I'm not really going to remember. I know that he got a bike resprayed, a vintage bike, but same thing, like you're saying there, Ben. He stripped it all himself. He got a chemical, stripped it all, and gave them a perfectly clean and taped off bike, and that saved a bunch of money. Like that's the work they didn't want to do, like to just paint it. And man, what bike was that? I remember it looked really nice, but yeah, it saved him a ton of money to do like the prep work himself. Yeah, clear coat over the original. What are you saying, Ben, about head badges? Let's see what. I should just chat about paint, and I want to develop this roll film because I shot a bunch of GoPro video of riding and photographing these, so I want to make a video about it at some point, probably tomorrow after I get my real work done. Did I say already I was riding around all day on Metro RTA buses, Akron's public transportation system. I'm shooting some commercials for them that they're going to put them on YouTube and I think Spectrum Cable. So it was it's a cool job, but it was kind of a little high pressure, like big deal. And I've never filmed on moving buses before. Aircraft stripper. I'm trying to think of what he was telling us about a chemical he put on, and he said the paint just kind of like melted off, and then it was almost like he just had to wipe it away. Do you remember, Ben, what bike he stripped down with some chemical? I think I was asking him all about it when I wanted to do the Viscount. Plus the bike's red and white, and that's not really my favorite look, even though my Raleigh is red, but the way it's painted just isn't a great look for me. Oh, thanks. Yeah, this is what brand is this? Got it at Joy Machines in Cleveland. The cap he's asking. Oh, Pace. Yeah, Pace Cycling. This is my classy hat that I feel like I could wear on professional jobs because it doesn't have logos and it's kind of clean. So I actually have not worn this. I don't actually wear this hat riding. It's my one cycling hat that I don't wear on my bike because I guess I have a couple times if I've ridden to jobs, but yeah, Joy Machines. I think right before the pandemic hit, me and Ben rode up there and I grabbed it. This is 9 milliliters of Kodak's HC110, the super active developer. But works because this film is super mellow. So. Woody used aircraft remover. Gotta say, good thing Yonda doesn't know how to. Well, I don't know if he does, but it's not a film photography developer because then he would be making fun of all my methods for this too, like all my bike building. I don't know. It's weird. You used to smell this stuff because it used to come like in this super concentrated syrup, and obviously this bottle I wouldn't use again. It's probably all oxidized, but then they switched the formula to this super liquidy stuff, and it has no smell. You could barely see the color, but it's way easier to work with because it's so thin. This is the water I need to watch out for, Ben. There's all these, so in the basement from the film days, there's all these super cool beakers and all this stuff that I grabbed and brought up here to my development station, but I'm still pouring everything into my classic jam jars from Slay's farm down in the Cuyahoga Valley. Well, you came to the right place then, Chris. It's actually, black and white development is not complicated at all. If you're going to take it all the way to the print, then you have to be thinking like 5 levels ahead, like how you're going to shoot it, how you plan to develop it, how you plan to print it. But even that has some leeway, if you're not looking to become a, gallery photographer who shoots analog. But yeah, black and white has a lot of leeway, so it's still not that tough. And this film is, well, really easy to develop because you develop it over a long time, 9 minutes, which is longer than anything else I do, especially with HC110. Tri-X only takes 6 minutes with this stuff, but it has a lot of exposure leeway, has a lot of development leeway. So this film would be a really good one if someone was trying to learn. But even developing Tri-X and stuff like that, it's any Kodak film. It's really not that complicated. I used to, when I started to be more meticulous, and then I realized a couple times I made a couple little minor mistakes, nothing changed. So the thing I mentioned last time I'm out of stop bath, and then I did a bunch of research, and stop bath is what it sounds like. It stops the developer from working. And then a bunch of people that I looked up their stuff, if you're using one-shot developer, like this developer, I'm using it as a concentrate, so I'm actually just going to dump it after. So if you use one shot, you're not putting the developer back into a bottle. So they were saying you don't need to use stop bath. Water will stop the developer from working. So I haven't ever bought any more developer, and now I've done 2 or 3 rolls without stop bath, and they're totally fine. So. Oh, color film? It'll have faded. Color film fades. It doesn't keep like black and white does. Color is not worth doing yourself, in my opinion. I've done it just to do it, but so color, if they're negatives, I assume it's color negative film, which is C41 process. C41 process, you're just trying to nail it. So there's no leeway in the development. You don't do anything to, you're not trying to affect the film. You're trying to be perfect with the process. Anything you're going to do to affect anything would have been done with how you exposed it in the camera. So to me, it's just worth taking to the lab. Akron Commercial Color Lab is who I use around here. I would really take it to them unless you really want to save money. And then I guess you could buy a C41 kit and do them all at once, which would be the only benefit. If you have a bunch of color film, you want to do it all at once because color chemicals go bad really quick too. So the benefit would only be a cost benefit, not any actual benefit to doing color film yourself. Same with slide film, which is an E6 process. You have to be perfect, and with E6 you have to be even more perfect. So you have to have like tanks of like water at a certain temperature that your tanks of chemicals are sitting in, so they maintain their temperature. So when I develop this film, I'll like do the agitations and then just set it down. If you were doing like an E6 process, you would actually set it back into the whole tank into water, so it was maintaining that temperature perfectly, so you didn't affect it at all. And again, it's so much work where you're not doing anything creative by developing it in your own. Like with black and white, like I'm shooting it a certain way and then developing a certain way to get the look that I like, so I'm bringing out more contrast in my black and white film. You're just not doing that with color, so it's almost just unless you just want to know how it works or want to save money, that would be the only reason to do it. I need to grab this distilled water. Funny story is the other photographer who works here, who rents the space from me, saw this and went to put it in. We have like a steamer, so if we have to photograph materials or clothing, she opened it up and started to pour it in the steamer and instantly smelled that it was, this is Fixer, which is very distinct smelling, and I realized that was all out of distilled water. And she saved it at the last minute because we were like imagining what would happen if she turned on the steamer, walked away, how bad this place would have smelled, but then the residual chemicals that would have stayed in our little steamer. So I'm mixing up this Kodak Photo Flow. It's the last step I do. It just basically cleans the film so there isn't water spots on it. Think of like when you go through the car wash and that final rinse has some wax in it. It's kind of that same process. This is basically dish soap. This is Kodak's brand, but I want to use distilled water for that because no minerals or anything to be left on the film. It only takes 2 milliliters of this stuff for 400 milliliters of water. Yeah, if you wanted to do it, if you wanted to develop that color film, I'd be into helping out. Yeah, we only use distilled water in the steamer. Yeah, because you don't want the mineral buildup inside your steamer. Actually, she was shooting. This was only like 3 weeks ago, totally different. She does like this company that makes like those UV lights that are supposed to disinfect stuff, and then also like these steamer machines. And she put normal water from the sink in it, and it wouldn't turn on. It detected the mineral content of our water here in Cuyahoga Falls and knew it wasn't distilled water. So the steamer, which we couldn't believe, actually had the commercial one she was photographing, had a shutoff to know that you can't use this in here. Ours is just this little, like one of these guys, and you know, like if I'm shooting, like sometimes there's Quaker Devices, the guitar pedal company here in Akron. They send me a bunch of swag to shoot in the shirts, and sometimes they've been folded in a bag so long, so I could use this to, if their wrinkles aren't that bad, instead of getting the iron out and all that. Let's go over to the distilled water doesn't boil? Like water won't boil without minerals and stuff in it? What is that? That's something I would be super interested in looking up, just to know what that, why that would be the case. Oh, because it's already been boiled, right? Well, that still shouldn't affect H2O. I don't know. Out of my element. Falls water is garbage. Yeah. I noticed the difference. I grew up with Akron water my whole life. Even when I lived in Bath, we had Akron City water. Moving to the falls, like I remember when my showers and everything first felt different. I'm sure there's residual rubber in everything around here. Yeah. Hearing the stories about people, they said you could, coming up 77 North, they said when you would go on vacation, you'd start to get back close to home. You would be 10 miles outside of Akron. You would smell the burning rubber. That's all before my time. They still make some NASCAR and IndyCar tires here. Actually, our one friend that we ride with works for Bridgestone, and they're building a new IndyCar factory. So, IndyCar tire factory. So the Bridgestone will still make tires here. Goodyear makes certain tires, but they're all like high-end specific, like almost like handmade stuff. There's no real rubber factories left here. Just the Goodyear's headquarters and some of the spin-off tech companies from the old rubber companies. Get this timer up here and get this going. Where's my timer on my phone? Oh yeah, it's just the clock on the iPhone. Interesting. So this film is unusual, and they give you very specific instructions on how to develop it. 30-second agitations at first, then 10 seconds every minute thereafter, for 9 minutes, which is crazy, like with HC110. Like I said, some films you have to use a weaker dilution of HC110 because it's just too quick. It'll develop the film in like 3 minutes unless you really water it down. So. So this is the initial 30-second agitation. If you know anything about film chemicals, D76 is kind of the standard, and it develops for the same amount of length with this film as HC110, which makes no sense to me. The tap is to get rid of the air bubbles, so there's no air bubbles sitting on the film. Was that what that was? A kitten sitting on the keyboard? We need to go back to Erin's to get her kittens in there. Her kittens seem to get us the views. I like whoever said "Don't smash the bean" when we were over there at Aaron's doing the Bombora build. Where's the beer? This is a great double IPA. What's everybody else who's joined since the beginning? Anyone else drinking anything interesting? Bourbon making instructions. Yeah, I had a girlfriend that I lived with for a long time, and we brewed a lot of beer, and we would make ciders, and we made wines, and I always wanted her to let me put it a little, like, it's like a 5-gallon still in the basement, but she was a real rule follower, and she wasn't into that idea because it's illegal in Ohio to make your own spirits. Is it illegal to make spirits at home everywhere? Is it always moonshine? I'm not sure. I'm only familiar with Ohio's rules on it. Yeah, Goodyear makes NASCAR tires. That's right. Yeah. Not yet. Screwball peanut butter whiskey? Screwball. Huh. Rum and Coke for Yonda. You're all rum, right? Yonda, you only drink rum? Or that's what you just always prefer? I don't think you. I don't think even if you're not selling it, I think it's illegal to distill in Ohio. Period. Like if you don't have a license, I think it's illegal to distill. It used to be illegal to brew beer up until the '70s in Ohio. I mean, everyone did it because they weren't like gonna bust anyone as long as you weren't selling it. I know my grandpa used to. He wasn't even someone who drank a lot, but he always made his own beer in the basement when he was canning and all that stuff. Bird Dog, Blackberry Bird Dog. I've had Bird Dog's bourbon. I've never had their blackberry bourbon. Miller Lite going easy tonight, huh? This one is, what did I say, 8%? Tab the chat up. I can't actually see what's happening on camera, so. I'm at 4 minutes and 45 seconds on this 9-minute developing time. Like I've said on these before, I love bourbon. I just can't keep it around because I'll drink it and I'll be drunk all the time. Have you ever drank good beer, Yonda? Good beer doesn't give you a headache. It's probably all that Amberbach you were drinking in Highland Square when you were younger or whatever. You're not even from Akron, right? Just. I almost never drink cheap beer like Miller Lite or anything anymore. Um, in a normal summer, if there was a party, like, back outdoor parties or all day barbecues or all day like bands playing, then I would get that like cheaper beer intentionally just because the alcohol volume is low and it's light enough to like drink in the sun. But yeah, I I haven't drank like regular, like, you know, big brewery beer for a long time. I mean, I'm not like so snobby I won't. If I'm somewhere and someone offers me one, if I was at someone's house and they offered it to me, I would. But neat whiskey. I always like my bourbon on the rocks. If it's a whiskey I've never tried before, I would definitely sip it neat to get like the full, like, you know, experience of the flavor. Huh. One of the things I've been trying to do, like tonight, getting the crowler, is I'm going to the places that I want to still be there after the pandemic is over. So even me and Aaron the other night, I went and got us dinner. So I pre-ordered. Hi Ho has closed down their tap room, Hi Ho Brewing here in Cuyahoga Falls, and they're friends of mine, and they're really cool people, and their brewery's awesome. So pre-ordered beer and pizza, and then took it over to her place, a crowler or something. But same thing, our one friend Kenny rides with us all the time, and this is one of his beers. So it's like I'm trying to buy beer from places that I want to be able to survive, you know, that will make it, you know. If we go out to Magic City a lot in the summer, we could sit on the patio, but now that won't be an option. So, you know, maybe this weekend I'll order some beer from them and go pick it up. But I think Miller and Budweiser are going to make it, so, you know. But then I think I like the drive-thru across the street that has good craft beer too. So then when I'm going around and getting crowlers from breweries, then I'm not supporting the people right in my neighborhood. So, all right, James, thanks for joining us for a while. So I'm at 8:26. I'm about to dump out the chemicals at 9. Put in the water, which will stop the developer from working. That'll roll around for 30 seconds, and then I fix for. This film says to do it for at least 6 minutes, but and it says to fix longer than normal. I'll probably do it a little longer than that to be safe. Yeah. Craft beer is expensive, man. Especially now. I mean, it's gone in the last few years. I mean, I just feel like there was nothing that was more expensive than $5 a glass, and now $5 a glass anywhere is almost. Well, we have one of the most expensive craft breweries anywhere here in Akron, by our old air dock where they used to build the dirigibles, Hop and Frog. I mean, I think the only $5 glass of beer they have is an 8-ouncer. We ride out there sometimes, and we try to always get there before 7 because that's when their happy hour is on Wednesdays. But yeah, really good beer, but just through the roof pricey. Man, last Thursday, when Kenny from Missing Falls showed up and gave me that crowler of his kettle sour they had brewed. And it turns out, I know we talked about that was a kettle sour, but they did a good job. That was a good tasting beer. I cracked that beer. I was already buzzed when I cracked that beer. Man, I ended up so hungover on Friday. We streamed for 2 hours. A lot of you guys stuck around the whole time. We were like, yeah. I haven't watched that back, but what happens in the second hour? I mean, I know we're zooming around on a map looking at Rehoboth Beach and all that stuff. So, all right. Yeah, so that's like 30 seconds to stop bath. I went a little long because it's just water, not actual stop bath. And now the fix. Yep. Unmistakable smell. Odor. This dissolves the rest of the silver and makes your film permanent. And that silver is why I still think black and white photography too is worth doing, because black and white is still something that digital can't replicate. The camera I'm shooting on right now is 45 megapixels, and if I can make it look like any film, color film I want to. I don't think I can make it look like any black and white film I want to. I mean, your average person might not notice. I like beer, just can't handle the sinus headache associated with it. See, I don't get that. I gotta get a job so I can get back to drinking tastier beverages. That was a fun video. Oh, last week? Yeah. Oh, Blue Moon Hole. I didn't know you were here for that, Ben. Well, you were probably commenting. I probably just don't remember. So this is 30 seconds, 30 seconds. 30 seconds of agitation, 30 seconds off. You don't need to be as precise with that. It's already developed. But went down a major blue moon hole. That's a weird way to word it. Or the best thing was Ben from Columbus, Pudgy Pedal Pusher, when you said, this is like virtual guys' night out at the Blue Moon. I do remember that. That was the quote of the night. I think I should change the name from evening routine to virtual guys' night out. I could use like Zoom and have the blue moon superimposed behind me. Or Ben, were you not involved in going down the blue moon hole? You were just watching. This is definitely a great way to pass the time of doing something fairly monotonous, to be able to chat. And like I said, hopefully if this turns out, I'll have a riding film video about it tomorrow. So the name changed. If that's not a typo, VGNO is something I don't know what that stands for. Probably don't want to. Oh, virtual guys' night out. Okay. I'm not always the quickest, as you guys would probably have noticed by now. I've got the fixed dripping. Virtual guys. Yeah. VGNO ABM. VGNO ABM. Hashtag. Akron Ben was just observing the whole time from a distance. Thanks, Yonda. The chat is delayed for me with this slow connection back here, so you probably did type that before I actually said it. But. Do you know, I probably brought this up last week. How would I know? Probably when we were talking about virtual guys' night out. I caught the video after the fact, yeah. But I looked at my YouTube, analytics page, and it shows that, my viewers are, 99.5% dudes. And I'm like, I mean, I don't think we're overly like, I mean, what's the right word for that? I mean, it's in some chauvinistic channel or like, you know, I mean, my most popular video is anyone can go bike packing, but maybe that, I don't know, maybe the thumbnail with Aaron, because I did have some guy just comment the other day. He said the woman from the thumbnail was not here, and I'm like, if you're trying to creep, she's in the next video. Like, I don't. So, yeah, it is. It's always virtual guys' night out on Tim Fitz, whatever. What's the name of this YouTube channel? It's just my name, right? Yeah. Just depends on how safe you're being. Should we all, at virtual guys night out, should we all be masked just to be extra safe? I mean, like, I have videos like Aaron's first, you know, gravel ride, but I guess only dudes are watching that. We're not reaching the demographic, right? I don't know if I could handle going back and watching last week's stream after about 10 o'clock. Or after Kenny shows up and I crack that beer. But I think I do remember, too, part of the time I was zooming around on the map, and then I realized I didn't even have that up on the stream. So it's just me, like, staring at a computer talking about Rehoboth. Mask on, pants off. That could be our other VGNO hashtag. Again, this will be shown in the future. People are not seeing the references of the chat. Yeah, I mean that's what you call the bubble, right? He says, in fairness, it's the same 5 dudes every time. Yeah, we got our own bubble. That's totally safe. Couple more minutes of fixing. Did anyone, this totally away from the film thing and the did anyone catch Dakuna Quick Steps New Jersey unveiling? Because they are so much better than last year's. Back to the blue, away from the weird white overall thing. I just watched that right before I came on. Like, I'm gonna sit down for a couple minutes, but. Man, with how easy like Teespring and Print on Demand is, I need to just make a some kind of VGNO with like a map of like Rehoboth, some kind of thing in the background, and just send them to you guys. Elegant. 21. Gives us a little more time. I found some new alleys for us to ride in Akron Bend. The last few days, just kind of cruising around, looking down different places. There's a couple I wasn't quite confident enough to go alone as the sun was setting that me and you need to hit up in the daylight if we ride again. The moon's always blue in Rehoboth. Yeah, who knew that my stream would descend into talking about beach towns in the winter, a gay bar in Rehoboth, and we brought it back around to something towards the end, and I can't even remember what that was. Cue some Bruce Springsteen songs, right? Say it, don't spray it. The fix actually goes back in the fix container because you need to dispose of fix properly because silver is super bad for the environment. I've been out cruising around Kenmore a lot, and like some of the alleys you found a few more, and then where did I go on Tuesday? Oh yeah, we started talking about the original Dogfish Head in Rehoboth, and then what's his name who just dipped out was from the area, right? Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what happened. Brought up the original Dogfish Head was in Rehoboth, which I actually went to a couple times as a kid, and then yeah, had a New Jersey guy who knew the area, knew the bar. I said I must have been like 8 to 12 years, somewhere in that area would have been when we were going there. Yeah, what's his name? Sam Calione, who had his. That's right. He had a show where they would do all those like pilot beers at the original location, not at the big brewery. Did we talk about saltwater taffy and everything? Did we get all deep in all that? One of my favorite things about those towns too is we probably talked about all this and I don't remember, but like the airbrushing things, like getting your front license plate like airbrushed with like a palm tree in your name. It has to be some super 80s trashy name too. Like what's a good? Now I've thought of a few, but I know people name that, so I get in trouble. I'm not gonna say them out loud. You guys could type them. There's a place in Ocean City, Maryland called it was like the Kite Shed or whatever, and like the fancy kites that you saw on the beach and you brought home. Yeah, the arcade. Yeah, the arcade was still. It was amazing to zoom around that map and see some of that stuff still existed. I mean, I'm just rinsing the film with water now. The old days, you just would run water over it forever, but doing the environmental thing, this is called the Ilford method from the English company. You keep extending how long you have the water in there. Trixie, yeah, there. Yeah, I don't know anyone named Trixie, so that's, yeah, Trixie. And then it have like the highlights in pink and like a blue, yeah, like a palm tree or whatever. There are no palm trees on the East Coast, in the northern East Coast, you know. Oh, you're still here. Awesome. So looking at my YouTube studio, that's what I have up right now. It says like concurrent viewers, so there's 5 people watching. Playbacks 34, which I like. That means like 34 people have like pressed play and were like, no thanks. I don't need this timer anymore because I'm counting these agitations. Get the chat back up here so I could see what my software is actually doing. What's up, Lanky Cyclist? I'm developing some film. But I actually saw your quitting Strava for a month video this morning, right before I ran off to do a video shoot all day, so I didn't have time to comment. If you guys aren't subscribed to Lanky Cyclist, click on his name and subscribe to his channel. We must live in relatively the same area. I think you're what, just probably somewhere north of me. And I know Ben too knew about your channel. I hadn't seen it until you commented on my video, and then I went and subscribed, and now I've seen all your new uploads, and then went back and watched a couple of the older ones. Digging the t-shirt. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, the t-shirt, I was talking about this earlier, but I had an idea, and then the guys who designed my logo for my company, I sent them some sketches and had them like clean it up and make it actually look cool. Got them in Teespring below if you're into it. I only put like they're high-end t-shirts, so they're the ones that like actually fit well and are that soft cotton and stuff like that. So they're mostly pricey because of that. I don't have it set to like, they're not something I'm gonna make money on. They're something I just think is cool, so me and my friends could have, and anyone who watches this channel. Like when you go on Teespring and like the suggested price for stuff, I'm like, no one's gonna freaking pay that. Like, like, yeah, I'd make $10 a shirt, but the shirt would be $30 freaking dollars. Who's gonna pay 30? I'm not paying $30 for a t-shirt. You know, obviously they sell them to me less my profit, but I mean that's, yeah, I would. Oh, you got one? Oh, awesome. You got one of the industrial gravel. Did you get the one like this, or did you get the circle one? Because there's two up there. The circle one is super cool too. I haven't got that one yet, so I ordered one of everything too. I want to see what they look like in person, obviously. But this company does a great job. I'm like, I don't know how you screen print on demand for like, even for their cost, it's not crazy for like the premium T-shirt. So. Yeah, skiing in the backyard was cool. I thought it was funny on your like Lanky Cyclist, your video today on the go out and just ride and like don't always worry about everything, because that's what I do more and more. But I actually like oh, you got the one I'm wearing, yeah. I actually like Strava a lot for that. Like even tonight and yesterday, well, especially yesterday, I rode the towpath south for a while, but then when I broke off in Kenmore, I needed to get some photos of the pump house at Summit Lake. But then when I rode up into Kenmore, like I had no plan, and I'm just like cruising around and doing exactly what you're saying, just enjoying the ride. Like, oh, I've never been down this street before. I've never been down this street. How does this neighborhood connect to this neighborhood? But so it's funny because I almost have the opposite, whereas I like Strava for that, because then when I get home, it's like I can see where I went. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not tracking myself for performance. I'm tracking myself for the simple fact of having the map of like, oh, that was how I put this ride together, or I want to go back there, or I don't want to go back there. The other thing you were saying on the social aspect, for me, Strava's social aspect is something I like, but you also have to curate it like everything in life, like any social media app in life. Like Instagram, I don't care where strangers are going to get a beer or eat their dinner or ride their bike, but I care where my friends are doing that. So, you know, you just got to make sure you're just following people that you actually are interested in, and also turn off push notifications. I remember when I used to have push notifications and I'd get a like on Strava. It's like, I don't care about that. You know what I mean? I'm going to look at it when I want to look at it and see it all at once, you know. Usually when I finish a ride, come home, finish a ride, it uploads, and then it's like, now I can see what everyone did. Now I can see if anyone commented on anything, and it's like making that be a thing that's like a 5-10 minute experience, but not an all day bothering me. Every one of these apps will bother you as much as you let them bother you. And Facebook, Instagram, I'm on them, but I'm not following people I don't want to see, and I'm not having any push foot notifications come to my phone. It's like I'll check when I want to. Local legend status. I mean, again, local legend. I think it's interesting. Like I, there's some. When I was coming home the other night, I was coming up this road Euler that comes out of the Cuyahoga Valley, right off the towpath where the dog park is before the stop after Big Bend. I'm like, how could I not have this local legend? Because there's someone who rides this more to me, so it's like interesting in that way, you know. And then I have a couple obscure KOMs, but they're like industrial gravel KOMs, right? You know, that I did go for in favorable conditions, and only 15 other people even know about them. But like you said in the video, I agree. Like we're all gonna go for like a climb that we want to have our personal best on. Like we want to like, yeah, they don't sell ads, but there are times when it's like, I'm feeling good. I'm about to climb. Like I live in Cuyahoga Falls. Anywhere I go, I'm dropping into the valley in some way. So like all the climbs, like when you're feeling good and you go and kill it, and then you come home and you see like, oh, I didn't kill it, or you see like, oh, I did. Going across the Y bridge is another one for me. It's like, just when I know the wind is right and I don't get stopped at the light, and then I'm just like, I'm gonna try and see like if I can come close to my fastest time ever. And I know what bike I'm on, and I know what I'm wearing. Sometimes I'm dressed in jeans and clothes like this, and it's like, man, if I was only 1 second off my PR on my gravel bike on the Y bridge, I'm like, that's amazing. That means I actually would have PR'd. So there's stuff like that that I totally dig it for, you know. but competing with everyone else. I've always said all those fast times in the Cuyahoga Valley are people who have been pacelining with a whole group of people. It's like, you're not going to ever touch those. Who cares, you know? I think we kind of all go, a lot of us go through like a curve, and I've watched it with a bunch of people I know. When you first get Strava, then you start to take a lot of your rides more seriously. Like, oh, it's going to be uploaded and I want to ride kind of fast. And then that kind of subdues to the fact that, like, I just want to track my rides and know all my mileage and know all those things. And once in a while, when I want to kill it, awesome. But that's for me, it's not for anyone else. I mean, me and all my friends are competitive, even being non-competitive cyclists. You know, none of us race or do, I mean, you know, like Road Apple Roubaix and stuff like that, we'll go and ride, but none of us are winning it. None of us are going to podium at those events, you know. But we still, like, you know, there's still, you get that notification that, you know, someone took your little, one of our friends always, like, took our little local gravel, industrial gravel KOMs or whatever. You're still like, you know, I'll tell you, every time I get one of Ben's, he goes out a couple days later and gets it back, so. I think this will be the last rinse, and we'll see if I successfully developed a roll of film. I actually have, my problem with Strava has been, and I think it's my phone, is aging. It's an iPhone 10, so it's not like a piece of trash, but I just don't think the GPS is all that good, so I had to turn off auto pause, which is frustrating because I like to know the average of a ride, like even a ride I stop at, you know, even if I stop for a beer, just the average speed, but that's all thrown off now with, I can't turn on the auto pause because sometimes it doesn't turn back on, and I think it's something with my GPS antenna or whatever that would all be beyond my pay grade, but. Actually, on Road Apple, I never take that freaking beer at the top of the, what do they call that, climb? Heckle Hill. Ben does, and I'm like, at that point, it's like, that seems totally against the way I do everything else, but on that ride, I'm always, like, at least pushing it, you know. I'm pushing it. Like, I'm always trying to keep it moving, and it's like, I get up there and I'm like, I'm not taking the beer. I just climb that hill, and I just tried to climb that hill as fast as I can. So I actually don't, whereas other rides I totally would have. I think we got, let's see. Yeah, got pictures. I'm always amazed every time it happens, even though I do it all the time. I don't know. I think it's why people like a lot of anything doing any kind of craft. It's like it's handmade. Everything is so easy, and still love it. I don't want to do it for. I'm glad I have a digital camera for making a living, but for as a hobby, I love doing this stuff. Heckler Hill. I never stop, for the record. No street cred. I don't stop. I've never stopped at any of the aid stations on Road Apple. Yeah. Yeah, you don't actually. This year, with the way the weather was, it was cold enough that the last leg was, because it's like towpath, it's like crushed limestone out there. And then the year before, I was kind of riding, we were kind of going back and forth a little bit, but with friend Albert, who owns Akron Coffee Roasters, he was riding his Mr. Pink, All City Mr. Pink on 32s. And the last part of Road Apple Roubaix, like, I remember it got like, it never got warm, but it must have been what, up into the mid 40s, and he was just that we hit that last past part of bike path, and that's I just completely dropped him on my 42s. He could not hang on in that stuff. He could barely keep the bike upright after doing Road Apple's what, 42, and he had already said it was like tiring worrying about like the potholes and the gravel, 'cause that's not a super gnarly ride, but yeah, just sinking into that wet bike path, I know really took it out of him at the end. You know what? I used to run a lot, and I was doing like the Cleveland half marathon, and I've never done a marathon. I've done half marathons, and there was like Headwaters Trail was soggy. Yes, 2 years ago Headwaters Trail was brutal. But there was a beer handoff at the Cleveland half marathon, and again, of course, like this is early in the morning, right? Or early on a Saturday morning for running a marathon, half marathon in my case. But there was these guys outside their house, and they're like beer handoff, and the fact that everybody was like, oh, gross, like the punk rocker in me came out to be like, oh yeah, and of course they were like in Dixie cups, like slammed it back and threw it over my shoulder. It's funny that I would do that in a half marathon where I was truly going for my PR and going all out in what I think is a brutal discipline of running half marathons. But we're riding. We almost always drink beers when we're out riding, but in Road Apple I wouldn't do it. I had 43s and zoomed right past Lake Effect guy who just sank in the muck. Oh, yeah. That is all good. Nice. Running is so much effort. Even like going out, like, because I don't, like I've done a few half marathons. I've done 4 maybe, but that's beyond what I would normally do. I had a girlfriend who signed me up for the first one I ever did, so then I'm like, if I'm going to be signed up for it, I'm going to be prepared. But like when I ran, even since I've lived here, I would go and run for like 4 or 5 miles. That's more of it. But like, yeah, especially getting older, the first mile, like your body's just screaming at you, like, why are you doing this? Don't do this. Like, don't do this. And even like especially the first minute, like I get to the high level bridge over here, that's always in my videos. It's like, it's the worst feeling. It hurts. But then when you get out there, it's one of the things for like me, I'm not someone, I don't think I could ever meditate. I don't think I could ever really, I don't have the patience to do yoga, to go somewhere to do yoga, to watch yoga online. Like, it's the one way that helps me clear my mind. It's what I really like about running. And so a mile in, I can kind of just get to a place where I'm chill. Not in a race. In a race, I'm racing. Again, just like we're talking about Strava, I'm not racing anyone else. I'm racing myself. I'm racing my own times. But that's the problem with running. You don't coast. That's why cycling is so much better. There's descent in cycling, Well, not in Columbus, but bigger high running than cycling. Totally, I agree. I mean, I've said this to other people. I'd never go for a run and stop for a beer in the middle of it. I mean, there is something about running. This summer I couldn't do it. Hurt my back in June. Was flat on my back for 2 weeks, and then that brought back on my sciatica, and I knew that running was too risky as I started to feel better. And most of the summer I actually didn't feel better. I just took Advil and rode my bike anyways because I cannot give up on the summer. It's But I never want to cycle, whereas running, less want to do it. Yeah. I miss running in a way, but in another way, I'll go for rides that kind of do fill that gap, especially now with all of my rides being pretty much solo. all my rides actually lately have been entirely solo. I could still kind of get to that running place if I want to. I mean, I could, you know, put it into a harder gear, hit a flat section of trail, and, you know, get that 4 or 5 minutes of not thinking about anything, you know. Yeah, it's funny when we first started doing our Wednesday night rides, me and Ben from Akron, my friend Woody, who's almost 10 years younger than me, lives out here, and he'd meet me over here to go meet all the other guys, which it's 3 miles into downtown where we were meeting. At the time, a bar called 69 Taps, stupidest name ever. But I'd meet up with him, and he would just like take off, and I'd be like, dude, like I'm in my late, you know, when we were doing this. Now I'm 42, but I'm in my late 30s. Like, man, I need to warm up. Like, I need to, like, you know, I'm still ride 14 miles an hour, but like I can't ride 18 miles an hour right outside, right out of my door. You know what I mean? I need. I just found out my 42s measured out to be 46 on my wheels. Yeah, that's also a very. Yeah, what tires now say on the side means almost nothing, right? I mean, it really doesn't depend on the combination you have going. I can't remember if Otis who owns Dirty Rivers put the caliper. I'm running a Terravale Cannonball 42s on Aerons. What's the Velocity Aerons? But I think those are probably. I mean, I bet they're not pushing past 43. I think they really are close to 42 on those. What, you driving? I think that's one of the things with cycling too, why I haven't been pushing it as hard for a while, is that mental effort it takes to push it hard. Because to put it in my hardest gear, even on the flat, like on, say, one of my vintage road bikes, you know, it takes a lot of mental effort to, you have to remind yourself to push it the whole time. So I used to go for a time from here to Kent and try and get the fastest time on the Freedom Trail, or my fastest time. But there's a lot of mental effort involved in thinking about, like, hey, you just eased up. And I also like getting to that place where I'm like riding really hard, but I am starting to almost meditate. That doesn't work if you're going for a PR. It has to be that constant, like, hey, no, push on the pedals type thing, which this summer I just have not ridden like very much. I think early in the summer I did take a KOM on an industrial gravel segment. We call it the Route 8 gravel. There's a access road for an old train line that runs along Route 8. But I did that intentionally. I'm like, I'm going to go out and see how hard I can do this section, you know. And I averaged over 18 miles an hour in a gravel section. Some of it fairly rough, some of it dodging some puddles, but fairly flat. So not crazy fast, but decently fast. Someone who, you know, someone from, you know, some of our friends could go out there if they knew about the segment, could get out there and definitely crush my time. Just no one has yet, so. Almost 39 here. Yeah. Yeah, things change. I mean, I guess, you know, when I was into cycling before I stopped, so I stopped cycling just because of my job. It was all physical and it was all day long being like working for farmers. But there were no apps or any of that. So I went out for hard rides, but you never knew what you were pushing. So I don't know what I ever did in my 20s. I didn't have computers. I didn't ever think about that. I just went for rides. It doesn't mean, there were times where I was riding hard, but there's no metrics to look back on and know about. I say that in my video about my Trek, my mountain bike. I wish I knew how many miles I have on that bike. You know, it was a commuter bike for me. It was a mountain bike. It was a road bike when I first met Ben from Akron. That's what I rode, you know. Oh, I've got a crawler from Missing Falls. It's their space-time continuum. It's their Imperial IPA. We did do a roll call of drinks earlier. One of our, William, one of our buddies, this brewery has 4 owners, and one of the guys who rides with us, well, when we were still doing our Wednesday night group ride, is one of the owners. And those rides too, like originally we started out doing like, none of us were roadies, none of us were wearing like kit when we were doing it, but we were riding like roads really hard, like mostly through the valley. We'd stop somewhere, have a beer and a snack, and then ride back. So mostly like, they'd be like 20, 25 mile rides. But again, I didn't have, that's before I even knew about Strava or had anything, but I remember guys who had computers like calling out the speed, and they're like, oh, we're hitting 19, we're hitting 20. So riding pretty good for a group of guys, like wearing jeans and riding. Ben was on a fixed gear. I was on a 2003 mountain bike. A friend, Woody, I think, used to ride a single speed. You know, there was one roadie dude who used to ride with us. He was always in spandex. A lot of times he would definitely spend more time on the front than the rest of us. But oh, Chuck says my old Peugeot is still working, trying thorn resistant tubes because I managed to hit every goat. Yeah, we don't have to worry about don't have to worry about that here in Akron. Yeah, I went from the mountain bike to the vintage bikes though, and when I built up my Peugeot and put 32s on it, I thought that's my gravel bike, you know. Are you drinking anything, William? Are you having a beer? Arizona sounds real nice right now. Even though today and tomorrow, today was not bad at all up here in Akron, and tomorrow's not going to be too bad. We hit high 40s, which for this time of year is not bad. Like I said, I sat on, when I went to pick up the Crowler, I sat on the porch and had a sandwich and a beer as the sun set. Then it got too cold, and I went in, filled out my, check, cashed out, I think is a better way to say that. Got a little heat, hit the bathroom, and rode home. I've heard about people adding sealant to tubes. Does that work? I mean, I don't see why it wouldn't. I mean, why would it work on a rubber tire, not on a... Who was doing that? Pathless Pedaled, right? Didn't he do a video about putting sealant into your tubes? About a year ago, maybe? Russ from Pathless Pedal. There was a woman who commented on one of my videos who lives in England, and she must be a Russ Pathless Pedal fan. And she was like, you guys are so, I don't know how to say it. And then she used the word earthy, but she said it in England, she said her and her husband show up to rides, and if they're not fully kitted out, she said they showed up a couple times and they got so made fun of for not being cyclists that they didn't go back. And that just blows my mind because we never rode like that. Like I'm saying, me and Ben became friends because we both just like to ride bikes. We didn't just talk about bikes, we ride bikes all the time. So it didn't matter that I was still riding my 2003 Trek mountain bike with rock shocks on it, and he was riding his fully steel fixed gear. It was like, we just like to ride bikes. That's what we do. And it was like, anyone who wants to ride bikes and you can keep up, this is what we do. And we, built like kind of a cool group around it. And even when I met my girlfriend, who has lived in New York and Chicago and Cleveland, and she's like very big in the coffee scene, she had friends who were cyclists. She was like, yeah, that's unusual that you guys don't care. She's like, people care about the bike you ride. And we're nerds. We'll make fun of each other like any group of friends, but it's about riding. It's not about the bike. I don't know. I mean, it works if you want to annoy your mechanic. So adding sealant to your tubes. Where are you and Hugh riding tomorrow, Ben? And like again, I don't have a problem with like roadies. I have friends who are like full roadies, always kitted. Stu, who, how old is Stu? Like 70 years old. That's the only way he's rode a bike. I ride with him. Like, no problem with that. It's about the attitude that sometimes goes with that. Like, if you didn't spend your way into this club, you're not involved. Like, that's stupid. You know what I mean? It's like, I, and it's not a cocky thing. I'm not the fastest rider, but like, I used to take so much pleasure in like coming up behind a guy in spandex in the Cuyahoga Valley and going like on your left in my jeans on my mountain bike and passing him. It's like, dude, like aerodynamics are not your issue. You know what I mean? Like when I worked at Slay's, I worked in the Cuyahoga Valley for 10 years, and like again, I understand some people like the reason behind the Lycra and everything is that it stays in place so it doesn't like you don't get chafing and all that. But some of these people pulling up on a $10,000 bike at Soleil's and walking around like fat as hell, like in all this kit, it's like, again, nothing wrong with being any body type, but it's like, why? It's like you're trying to, I don't know, impress upon someone something. Like I don't know. That to me is the thing that's ridiculous. It's like, man, I bet you'd be a little more comfortable in like some shorts right now. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm a jerk. Maybe I'm an idiot. I don't know. Actually, Ben, I don't. You know, I'm allowed. I mean, allowed. I can do whatever I want, but I've really been limiting my bubble situation uh, lately. But anyways, I have to knock out a couple hours, at least 4 hours worth of work tomorrow before I'd be free to do anything. So I still want to get out to Hampton if we get the right weather, though. I really want to take my Raleigh out and ride Hampton. 10,000 bikes and like yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, I think me and Ben were like joking about like some Rafa thing, and it's like, man, we both have Rafa clothes. We both love EF. You know what I mean? Like, but again, there's like this when you're just wearing all the latest and all the most expensive, and it's like the fancy shades from Oakley and all that stuff. It's like, you know what? The pros wear that for a reason because seconds matter over a 3 week grand tour, as if we've seen anything in the last few years. Like all the fanciest kit, all the most perfect stuff actually is playing an effect if you're at that top level. You know, like if you're gonna race around here, you should wear kit and stuff like that too. I mean, like of course, why would you do something that was like, why would you do anything that would be affecting you? But on the level of like, do you really need a, System 6 Evo, with, you know, a super, like this year's Rafa clothes? No, of course you don't. Like, I buy a couple pieces here and there to support my favorite team, you know what I mean? Like, but it's not going to make a difference, like some of the super fancy stuff. Everyone wants to sell you something, and that's, you don't need to always buy something, like, now's the time we're placing a velocity order. Full rooms now. Yeah, that specialized bike is so funny. uh, Ben from Columbus says, when you're fat, you don't have to worry about fancy gear. It's not available in your size. Yep. It's probably like trying to buy a woman's designer dress for a woman who is not even fat, just mid-sized, right? You know. I learned early on, like I didn't realize this. Like I went to get a gilet, you know, a vest, like an EF vest that was like marked way down. I'm like, oh yeah, I could totally use that. And I bought it in what I consider my t-shirt size and stuff like that. Then I got it, and it's like, man, this thing was like a bra on me, you know. Like, and of course, the return policy. One great thing about Rafa is like the return policy. If you reckon something, you could send it back. If I sent it back and got like 2 sizes bigger, you know what I mean? It's like, no, I still want this. I'm still going to spend the money, but I realized don't buy anything in their pro line. And I am not a, yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not a climber, but I am not a big dude. I'm a skinny dude. I'm like a 6'1", yeah, skinny dude. But yeah, pro cycling stuff does not work on me. I'm not a Colombian climber. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I realize that. It's like that's why one I really like Chrome. I like their commuter style stuff. It still has all the nice touches that cyclists want. You know, some of the smaller brands. That's why I really like watching Pathless Pedal because he shows a lot of the stuff that works for like your everyday cycling. Even with Rafa, I have a pair of pants that I wear all the time by them. I like that kind of stuff. My camera just turned off. But yeah, at the end of the season is when I go and look at their stuff because they mark it way down. So a $300 jacket might only be $100. And my camera went out, huh? Wonder if the battery died. Yep. Go to webcam. That's the cam for my laptop, which is horrible, but I have so much bright light shining on me that it can actually do a decent job. I have the audio. Yeah, I do have the audio set up here, so we're good. Interesting thing with the software I run, like you make a scene that you have to then add all the elements you want to be in there. So my audio isn't coming from the computer; it's coming from another source. So even though I switched to this, and even when my camera died, my audio didn't go out because my audio is running directly into the computer. And in this scene, I have the same audio added in. Like, so if I go to browser, that's the YouTube app that's running everything. I still have the mic put in there, so you can still hear me. When I hit intro, you couldn't hear me for a second because that is the audio from the video. Just imagine him agitating Phil. Hey Ben, I'm imagining you agitating me. Oh shit. I'm almost out of beer. We're gonna have to wrap this up soon. Well, also we've already had like what, an hour and 40 minutes. It's supposed to end at 10 o'clock. Like, I'm out of beer. I need to hang this film to dry so I can make an actual video. I am having a good time though. But yeah, let's end it, guys. It's always fun. I'm gonna try and keep it more consistent. I mean, been doing pretty good. I just missed Tuesday, right? But yeah. Energy gels, I like the natural ones. My favorite. But again, if someone gives me something for free, I'll take it. All right, dudes. I also have to take a leak, so this is the perfect time to end it. See you on Tuesday. That's on Tuesday. Let's actually go back down in the basement and finish building that Barry Hoban. Yeah. Well, I just got to run the cables on that. I got the wheels on it and everything. Let's you guys can give me some advice when I try and set up the limiting screws and the chain tension, right? All right, yeah, let's do that on Tuesday. I'll see you guys then.